What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Drew Hoover, and today we're going to be talking about the 49ers versus the Cowboys. Man, you talk about the nostalgia behind this matchup. You talk about Steve Young versus Troy Aikman, and I think this is going to be a good game to watch. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please click that subscribe button. Also, if you have any graphic design needs, Anthony Garcia is your man. His link is in the description below, www.anthonygarciadesign.com. So, oh my gosh, both these teams had a strong end to the season. We knew that the Cowboys had already clinched the NFC East, but man, it felt so good to go into Philadelphia last week and for Dak Prescott throw 5 touchdowns. And really, I think he's a better quarterback than people give him credit for. Again, I keep mentioning Colin Cowherd because honestly, he's my inspiration to become a sports commentator. But he's been back and forth with Dak Prescott so much. I mean, he says he's good, but he's as good as he's gonna get. But when I look at the throws that he made, in that Philadelphia game, there's only a few quarterbacks in the NFL that can make the throws that Dak made, And so I don't think Dak Prescott gets enough credit. I know people love to hate on the Cowboys, just like people like to hate on the Patriots, But, man, you talk about the receivers that he's got, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb really took it up this year. And what we saw from the Eagles game, even when Michael Gallup went down, Cedric Wilson came up and had a big game, which when you talk about, free agency, when you're talking about making some cap room, they might take Michael Gallup, release him and keep Cedric Wilson. He jumps to the slot receiver. But anyway, you also got Dalton Schultz and, Ezekiel Elliott just barely made 1,000 yards rushing this year, but I think he still shows that he can make it, that he can still establish the run. And what's really impressive is how that defense did. Now, we didn't see it against the Philadelphia Eagles because some of those players were gone. But you talk about Micah Parsons, man. People were wondering how this pick was going to work when at the time you still had Jalen Smith, you still had Leighton Von Est, but, man, did they make it work? And honestly, I knew coming into the season that maybe they had to use him, like Anthony Barr was when he was drafted by the Vikings, or, I even go back to Lawrence Taylor. I know that's a big comparison right there. But, man, Micah Parsons really lived it up. And also a guy that really impressed me that I had doubts on heading into the season was Trevon Diggs. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that, one, that Pats defense was terrible the year before, which they still had their struggles. But you talk about their top wide receiver, or I should say their top corner, was a guy that used to be a wide receiver and a kick returner back in Alabama. So he really hadn't had that much experience playing the corner position. But you do see how that comes in handy this year when he had all those picks this year and ended up, winning that, interception title, I guess, this year. And then he really stepped it up. I'm really happy because I didn't know what they were going to have in that secondary, which that does leave a problem when it comes to, facing the San Francisco 49ers. If Trevon Diggs is going to be enough to stop, Jimmy Garoppolo and that pass offense. You talked about George Kittle, arguably the best tight end in the National Football League coming out of Iowa. I always like bringing that up because I'm an Iowa fan. You talk about Deebo Samuel, who had to be the top receiver and top rusher this year. When guys like Raheem Morrison and, Trey Sermon, all these guys went down, they had to improvise. And so Deebo Samuel has become the dual threat that, man, we never knew we needed, man. And we also know this guy can throw. He threw a touchdown pass in the season finale against the Los Angeles Rams. So, man, I can't wait to see what they throw at that Cowboys defense with Deebo Samuel. And I want to go back to Jimmy Garoppolo for a second because, man, he really stepped it up in the 2-minute drill. You talk about a guy that people are already saying that he's on his way out. You know, you're talking about drafting Trey Lance, or I should say trading up to get Trey Lance. And everyone was thinking, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo is out. You know, there's nothing left for him in the tank. There's nothing left for San Francisco. But, man, he has really had a chip on his shoulder and is really showing that he can still lead this team. And there's a lot of people saying that the 49ers could upset the Cowboys in this game. But honestly, it just depends on how that defense steps up. Because similar to the Cowboys, they're lacking depth in the cornerback position, you know? And you saw the way that, you know, Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp were able to advance the ball down the field, you know? It was just a bad decision by Matthew Stafford that, you know, 49ers got the pick to win the game. So, I mean, I don't see that secondary defending well. And, you know, Dak Prescott has shown that he can play under pressure. So it'll be interesting to see how Nick Bosa and that defensive line can get pressure on Dak Prescott. You know, so when I look at this game, and then I think everyone's wanting to root for the underdogs, you know, in these playoffs, you know. But, man, I can't overlook the Cowboys, man. I think Dak Prescott, like I said, he has shown composure when he's hit with pressure. I keep always referring to that season opener against the Buccaneers when he is constantly hit with pressure. When people thought, oh, what's going to happen to him? I mean, we don't know if he's the same Dak Prescott. He was a better version of Dak Prescott, and he was throwing with pressure in his face and had a great game in his slugs. And I think whatever the 49ers defense throws at him, I think the Cowboys are going to put points on the board. And as good as the offense that San Francisco has, like I said, when you get defensive players back, like, you know, Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence on that front seven, man, I think that defense is going to hold just enough to let the Cowboys come out with a win. But I think it's going to be a tough game. Let's go 38-35, the final score. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to come down to a wire. And like I said, I love the nostalgia behind it, man. You know, and it was Joe Montana versus the Cowboys and Steve Young versus the Cowboys. So, man, I just love the fact of seeing the 49ers and the Cowboys facing off yet again in the playoffs. And that has been my analysis and prediction for the Cowboys and the 49ers. I'm your host, Drew Hoover, and have a good day, everybody.